Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. Today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock. Let's go over what is happening with the stock, what is happening with the market. I mean, moving into the start of what could be a very turbulent week. Really for the rest of the week with elections tomorrow. We have FOMC on Thursday. And again, keep in mind with the elections, right? I think with elections is that it's going to be pretty surprising if tomorrow is all it is, essentially. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the times for these elections, right, you don't really find out who really wins until like a couple of days after, as they're like tallying everything up and stuff. So this might bleed into Wednesday easily, possibly Thursday, right? Maybe even Friday. So just keep that in mind, right? This, potential volatility this week can potentially persist a little bit longer. But I'm sure as we get, a winner announced, things should, the volatility should die down. But nonetheless, let's just jump into it. If you enjoy, as per usual, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you enjoy my analysis, etc., I do have a YouTube membership on, YouTube. So definitely check it out if you're interested. Link is down below. For just $3 a month, you get access to all my intraday thoughts, posts, updates, technical analysis, options flow, etc. on Tesla stock and other stocks as well. Today, I actually shared Coca-Cola stock with the members, and that link is down below if you're interested. Or if you're interested, you get for $5 a month, you get access to all of that plus NVIDIA daily updates as well, technical analysis updates, etc. But let's jump into it. Tesla closing the day down, unfortunately, down about 2.5%. Weird ass text. Down 2.5%, closing at just shy $243 per cent, $242.84. Which compared to the market is going to be yet another underperformance. Now, Tesla is, of course, going to be in some pretty decent pain train, right? We ended up calling this potential top up here with that potential liquidity trap when it was happening back up in the 270s. And Tesla has just been absolutely selling off pretty aggressively for the past several days now, right? If you talk about this day being the first red day, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 days in a row of red days, right? That's a lot. Like Tesla doesn't usually get to 7 days of straight red days. That's actually pretty rare for there to be literally 7 straight red days in a row, or like down days in a row, without at least one day of of a bounce in between, right? Kind of like you see here. It looks, it's pretty straight down, but at least here, even this had some days where it was kind of green, or had some up days. Essentially, is what I'm trying to say. So. We're not really seeing that right now, right? We're seeing Tesla would just pretty much go straight down. Now, there's a few things that I want to pay your mind to. Right now, this is going to be where it gets a little bit maybe confusing, but interesting as well. The daily chart is the first one we'll look at. Now, the daily chart, we have the market bias, right? The market bias is essentially, with my settings, is going to be pretty much just, support and resistance. If it's green and you're above it, it's bullish. If it's red and you're below it, it's bearish. And obviously, when it's green and we're coming back into it like the way we are right now, obviously, the first thing you would easily assume is the fact that it's bullish, right? And that's the correct assumption, because we're essentially coming back down into what should be a support, right? This general vicinity. Now, this is similar to like some people, what they do is they actually trade strictly off of something like, for instance, the 21 EMA, right? Which we are closing just barely above the 21 EMA. But some people, what they do is, below 21 EMA bearish, above 21 EMA bullish, right? And this is a similar strategy to that, but I like it a little bit more because the 21 EMA is just very thin line. It's like, you had several times here, it was kind of below, but then kind of above. And, same here, it's like kind of below, but kind of above. So it's a very, very thin area to trade around, right? It's a very thin line. So this essentially takes the similar idea, but it's a bigger range, right? It's a bigger range of resistance and support to try and reduce false signals. And that's kind of the idea here. But the point I'm trying to make is the fact that we're coming finally back into it and we are retesting. And like I said, low 240s is where things start getting interesting for me. But ideally is where I really want to see is somewhere around the mid 230s, right? That's where I'd get very interested. But low 240s, it's starting to pique my curiosity for sure. And now we're finally in that area, which is good. And I did put a buy order post-market to enter some shares, which again, it is going to be a risky trade. It's a very risky trade, assuming it gets filled. I don't know if it even gets filled or if it will even fill, but it's a very risky trade because with the elections coming up and Elon being very, obviously very pro Donald Trump, if Donald Trump doesn't win or there's signs that he's not going to win, there is a chance that Tesla stock continues its sell-off, right? So anyways, the point I'm trying to make here is the daily chart actually looks still pretty solid, right? Now, obviously it's not perfect, right? For instance, this trend line that was supporting us literally on Friday, we're now down below it, and we actually came up to it and retested it as resistance. You can see here, right? Took it in and made it a resistance now. So that is a concern. So that definitely needs to break. So, the easiest way to put it is Tesla pretty much needs to go back above about 250 to 252 in order to really resume any form of uptrend. But if there's a place to finally find some base and find some support and essentially stop the bleeding and, hopefully finally start turning things back around and getting some bullish momentum back into the stock, we're pretty much entering that territory. Now, there is still more room to the downside. Like I said, this band is a pretty large band, right? So, pretty much anywhere in this low 240s to as low as pretty much around the mid 230s is that important region on the daily time frame that you really want to see Tesla hold, which again, similar to if I bring out the Fibonacci retracements, which is a very classic way of trading, we of course have that 618 Fibonacci retracement sitting around that mid 230s, which is just another major reason why this kind of, very low 240s to about the mid 230s is a crucial area for the bulls to hold, right? This is not an area the bulls want to lose. And honestly, the worst case scenario, if we somehow lose it, which if this were to happen, I would expect it to be, like I said on Friday, a very quick sell-off, but I would expect it, at least hopefully, of course, from a bullish perspective, to be a very quick buy up again, all the way down to these green lines down here, which is the Fibonacci retracement lower, which is around the 786 or the 826 Fibonacci retracement zone, which is like that really true, like massive, like golden spot if you can get it there, right? This is like definitely a bigger question mark, right? I don't know if we'll get here. This is definitely a question mark. But if we do see maybe like some kind of panic, quick sell off, and then, maybe a quick buy back up, like a very scary red candle that maybe triggers a lot of stop losses, this would be the area I would expect that in, but I would want to see Tesla get bought back up and go back above the 230s, at the very least the low 230s, like the same day. Like I don't want to see it close down here. I just want to see it come here, but then get bought up really quickly and get again back up above the, at least the low 230s, right? That's what I would want to see if, of course, we ever even do get down to that general vicinity. But if we do go even lower, or if we come down here and we start closing candles down below, it's not all bad news as well, because we are going to be still within this massive rising channel, but it is going to start putting some, question marks, I guess, in that bullish daily chart theory, because the market bias will start probably turning red. We're going to start turning it into a resistance. So there will be some complications that will arise despite us still being in this rising channel that will just make the bullish thesis a little bit more difficult to digest, if that makes sense. So ideal scenario, honestly, the ideal scenario straight up is just we really don't lose pretty much the mid 230s, and we just don't go much lower than that. We hover somewhere around this general area and then ultimately make our way back up. That's the most simple bullish perspective that I can see. Obviously, the bearish perspective is pretty much the opposite of that. So yeah, that's kind of the main thing I'm looking at on the daily chart. Now, the BX trender is of course showing a red band, right? It's been pretty much selling off, obviously, as the stock has been selling off. The red band has come in, which is why the way I look at it is I also just don't think Tesla's ready to just completely fully take off just yet, right? If Tesla does bounce from here, if it does get a short-lived bounce, the best case scenario for now, at least, that I see Tesla doing is pretty much a move back up to this 1 hour market bias that I have, again, with my custom settings, that is pretty much sitting around, the low 250s, 250 to 252, somewhere around there. So if we, potentially, we have this descending wedge right here, that is a potential, pattern that we're in. Right? You can make an argument that looks, something like this roughly, right? But, if this were to play out, if we were to bounce from here, the first target I would have is honestly somewhere around the 250s, right? This is going to be the major area of a resistance. If Tesla can break above that and essentially turn this 1 hour band back into being back to green, that would be the first step that, would really be important, I guess, for Tesla to finally reignite some bullish momentum. But like I said, remember on Friday and even pretty much most of the week before, if I see this turn red, again, whatever comes first, either we flip this back to being green or we come back down to my major levels, which we're very damn close to right now, right? This is kind of the rough area that my major levels begin at. But ideally, like I said, I do want it a little bit lower in the mid-ish 230s. That's where I'm like a lot more interested. But even here, I am starting to get a little bit interested because you can see the 1 hour RSI is starting to really scrape the bottom of the barrel several times. The stock is getting pretty oversold. And if I bring out my bands regression, you can see we are, of course, especially from this morning bounce, and getting into oversold or even extreme oversold territory all the way back here from the first hour morning sell-off into bounce, right? So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it, right? Again, to put it simply, daily chart looks still pretty good, actually. I think the daily chart still looks fine. Obviously there's still some work to be done, but if there's any spot for that potential, I guess, think of it like bullish reinforcement essentially to come in, we're pretty much there, if not only slightly lower from here, right? So but we're pretty close to being there. We're damn close to, for sure. So that's going to be that place to watch for that. But in order for the short-term trend to start kind of moving in tandem with that daily bullish trend, which the daily isn't still in bullish trend, I do want to see this band on the 1 hour turn back to being bullish and green, which would essentially be a break of about the very low 250s right now for Tesla to get some confidence back in, which would also bring it back above this trend line that is resisting us. And if I guys kind of squish it together like this, you can see, we have this, of course, volume profile over here sticking out pretty much also at around 250, right? You'd want to see all these things break because currently they're acting as a resistance. So, that is a bit of a concern to say the least for now. And I guess another way to look at it, to make it a little bit more of a quicker thing, if you will, is a 15-minute chart. Same thing with the 15-minute chart on the market bias. We can't even turn this thing back into a green, right? First step, at the very least, 15-minute, can the market bias turn green there? If it can, then we can begin start thinking about, at the very least, coming up as a resistance to this market bias in the 1 hour, but maybe even turning it back to green. But this is not even a topic of discussion until at the very least the 15-minute can do that same thing, but turn green. So yeah, that's just kind of the way I'm looking at it right now moving forward, right? To put it simple, you can see I actually did remove my SMI right now. I'm trying to just clean up my indicators. I'm trying to make it just as little noise as possible, and I'm trying to just kind of make it as simple as possible, not only for you guys, but just really for myself as well. I'm trying to always eliminate as much noise as I can from my chart and really just have indicators that just usually have the highest rate of success and the highest and the lowest rate of false signals. And I'm trying to always trying my best to really find the best kind of the min-max area of that, right? And I'm still working on it, of course, but hopefully this is a pretty good step in the right direction. But nonetheless, that's essentially what I'm expecting moving forward on Tesla. In terms of options flow, Tesla, throughout the day actually had some bullish flow. For instance, I had $1 million call over here. But what I like to look at here mainly is really what happened towards the end of the day. And towards the end of the day, we did see some bearish flow come in on Tesla that, maybe people are expecting another gap down tomorrow. Like I said, if we do get a gap down back into the 230s roughly, I do get excited. I will start getting pretty excited around that area. So if it does, I'm very, I welcome it, essentially is what I'm trying to say. And I will most likely buy that dip. There's a damn good chance I will enter that dip, of course, with obviously stop losses in place and, mental stop losses, I guess I'd like to put it. I don't actually use literal stop losses. I use more mental stop losses or stop losses that I have just in my head. Because a lot of the times the charts like to trigger stop losses that are automatically set in motion. They get triggered and then the stock runs up. So I don't like to usually use that because I have the luxury of being able to sit here and stare at the chart pretty much the whole day. But yeah, that's really just all that simple. That's kind of what I'm expecting. The indicators are softening up, right? The MACD is starting to soften up a little bit as well, right? So, indicators are softening up, which is why I personally, I don't really see Tesla just completely taking off just yet, at least not for the next few days. I do expect Tesla to kind of just, honestly, if I had to take a guess as to what happens next, my guess is highest I can see Tesla right now for now is the 250s, but I can see Tesla anywhere between 235 to about 250. I can see some consolidation really start to kick in here. I can see it kind of zigzagging just around this area for a bit, at least for now, right? Until maybe some more certainty comes from the election or something of the sort. But that's kind of my best guess right now. But again, as long as we maintain this daily green market bias and we maintain above it, essentially, Tesla's technically bullish on the daily. So, don't fight the trend. The trend is still technically up on Tesla on the daily despite the sell-off. But yeah, anyways, that's all I got for you. Let me know what you think down below. And as usual, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.